What's up, Patreon family? This is your girl Megan from the HoodAstroQ, and today I wanted to talk about the numbers 1 through 9 and their planetary rulers. Now, for those of you guys who have been watching me for a minute, you know that I do like to use both numerology and astrology because the two are very interconnected with one another, and there are a lot of similarities that could be found in elements of numerology and astrology. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that the basic core numbers, meaning numbers 1 through 9, do have their own roots in astrology. Now, when we start talking about compound numbers, meaning 10 and upwards, they also are very much rooted and interconnected with astrology as well. But I'll actually make another video on the compound numbers and we'll kind of go through those. In this video, I just wanted to focus on the basics. And so with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started. Now, the number one. The number one is ruled by the sun. So naturally, it's going to have a lot of components and characteristics that could rival that of the Leo archetype. Individuals with very prominent one energy can be very confident, charismatic, bold. They could exude lots of leadership. The major focal point for these individuals, whether you be a life path number one or a birth number one, or even if you have certain planets at the first degree, the major focal point for these beings would be happiness, purpose. These could also be incredibly creative individuals. And children could play a very central and key theme in their lives. So will men. Also, ones, especially when out of alignment, can be very bossy, willful, and arrogant, as well as egocentric, very similar to, once again, a lot of individuals with that Leo archetype. The number two is ruled by the moon. So naturally, it encompasses a lot of Cancerian energy. So two individuals can be very personable. They could be very private, sensitive, and impressionable. A lot of twos could also lack self-sufficiency, and issues and themes involving the family, the mother, women, even motherhood are also going to be very dominant. They could be excellent caretakers and tend to even prefer being babied themselves from time to time. Now, the number three is ruled by Jupiter, and it takes on a lot of Sagittarian qualities. So people with prominent 3 energy could be truth seekers. They could be very spiritual. People who really gravitate and enjoy higher level learning. You know, these could be people who may be very explorative, people who love adventure. They can also be very charismatic. They can have excellent sense of humor. They could strive for adventure and fun, but also trend towards recklessness and irresponsibility as well. They can be forgetful, absent-minded, and they often struggle with the spirit of indulgence or excess, okay, which could bring about weight problems a lot of times. When we talk about the number 4, which is ruled by Uranus and encompasses a lot of Aquarian energy, the number 4 is a number that deals with independence, originality, and in some cases, isolation, accidents, and all things unconventional, all things left-brained, rational. 4s could also have a difficult time fitting in. They can find themselves isolated or just being plain weird. But they also can be very willful and the type of individuals who need to devote themselves to higher causes. They could also be incredibly social beings, as well as individuals who may be able to attract a lot of benefits, especially by way of others. The number 5 is ruled by Mercury, which also deals with change, diversity, variety. 5 individuals can have a lot of different hobbies, a lot of different interests, and very short attention spans. They could also be avid readers and or writers. They excel in careers such as teaching. Some cases they can do excellent in the field of marketing, maybe even sales. Not to mention, people with one energy also tend to be excellent salesmen. Fives can also be slick talkers and chatty patties, chatty Cathys. In some cases, they can be very nosy. They need lots of stimulation and can also spend a lot of time being busybodies. The number 6 is governed by Venus and as a result can encompass a lot of Taurus slash Libra energy. Sixes are naturally very artistic. They could be really talented in matters of music, maybe even dance, poetry, or even fashion. A lot of sixes can be really beautiful, gracious. You could even see a lot of models with prominent six energy. Sixes are very much pleasure seekers and enjoy all of the beauty that life has to offer, which could also make them somewhat lazy or motivated and driven by other people. There could be a lot of emphasis placed on other people, partnership, companionships. Sixes can also be people pleasers, but on the more positive end, you could always rely on them to be team players. They're also very persuasive and are often known for their pleasant or at least mild mannered demeanors. Now, when talking about the number 7 is ruled by Neptune and as a result can encompass a lot of Piscean energy. 7 individuals are naturally very majestic creatures. And in many respects, they're plugged into some kind of spiritual capability. Whether these are people who use it towards regular like religion, right? Which is another really big theme when we talk about that number 3 as well, because of its Jupiter rulership. A lot of 3 individuals can actually be very religious or very spiritual, but 7s as well, more so on the spiritual end. These are people who could believe in angels and miracles, and they may even experience a fair share of paranormal experiences throughout the course of their lives. 7s can be very empathic, very sensitive, and can often even have a difficult time existing amongst chaos and confusion. They can be very dreamy in nature and sometimes very delusional and just not really plugged into reality. 7s could also struggle with substance abuse and can have a hard time remaining plugged into reality. A lot of times their grip on reality can be really tenuous. They could also struggle with poisoning, drowning, and they could have lots of allergies. 7s can be really gullible and are natural empaths. Now, when discussing the number 8, which is ruled by Saturn and naturally encompasses a lot of Capricornian energy, these are your achievers. These are people who can be super ambitious and who often have a very strong sense of what it is that they want to do. These are people who often set really big goals for themselves and can attain a lot of material success. However, on the flip side, they can be extremely hard on themselves and can even be subject and prone to depression. In many instances, these are individuals who may have been burdened with lots of responsibilities earlier on in life or have to live lives that allow them to learn how to adjust and make room for being a more responsible person. These are the assumed elders and the spirits who've been here before, so to speak. But 8s can also be very mean and sadistic. They can have issues with control and punishment. They can also be a little bit too materialistic and enamored with power. 8s can also be workaholics and social climbers. Now, the number 9, which is ruled by Mars, often carries a lot of Aries qualities. These are the doers. These are the people who like to spring into action. They can be highly competitive, which is also another quality that could be associated with the number 1, being very dominant, hyper competitive. 1s could also be territorial. 9s are more so defensive, combative. They can be conflict driven. Nines often struggle with temper problems, and a lot of the themes surrounding their life trajectory, so to speak, could revolve around their identity, their sense of self, whether they have too much of it or not enough of it. Nines could also be very sexual, brutish, blunt, aggressive. They can also be very athletic as well as really physical in nature. Nines are also original. They have a very strong affinity for originality. And this is why it's very important for these people to be in tune with themselves. They're another very independent kind of number and also make excellent leaders and bosses. But when out of alignment, can even be just as bossy or someone who may not make the best team player. So this concludes my video on the numbers 1 through 9. In the next installment, we'll talk about the numbers 10 through 20. So y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye.